I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
I'm tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
I didn't expect that answer. No.
Oprah truly went on national television and slammed Trump and Melania to an unprecedented degree. Trump is absolutely irrational about this. Plus, I'll tell you, remember how Oprah revealed all their dirty little secrets? Melania seemed to want to vanish as well. Oprah was unrelenting as she revealed the truth about Trump's dubious dealings, Melania's secret problems, and everything else that neither of them wanted revealed. And that's only the beginning of how wild it gets. Just wait until you hear Trump's insane attempt to cover them up after Oprah exposed them. At first, it was just a conversation. When Oprah dropped a bombshell of truth that may topple the White House, she appeared extremely confident. She inhaled deeply as she drew near. For a split second, no one spoke. What followed was anarchy. Some others stayed silent in disbelief, while others laughed uncontrollably. On camera, people of the audience could be seen staring in astonishment. Before long, things descended precipitously and chaotically. Some in the audience even got up and started cheering and clapping. Outcries of "Oh my God" rang forth. Even though she knew this would make the room explode, Oprah simply smirked. But how does Trump factor in? Oh, I see. He was really struggling with that. Without hesitation, he jumped onto social media, typing frantically as if his phone were on fire. In about 10 minutes, he went on the record as saying Oprah was lying and that her jealousy was her only motivation. He went so far as to use his favorite word, fake. However, his situation just became worse as he continued to protest, since everyone was now interested in Oprah's comment. Trump wasn't only reacting out of fear. His ardent supporters were as furious and inundated him with letters of support. On the other hand, everyone else was having a blast. Memes were flying about and everyone was listening intently to Oprah. News reports of the incident aired time and time again. Melania, meanwhile, assumed for the sake of argument that her quiet said volumes. Everything started here. A great deal of speed was applied. The several bits that made up Oprah's remarks online were dispersed. Everyone was attempting to decipher her every word. Was she alluding to a more substantial matter? Was there anything she knew that nobody else did? Many assumptions were made. Reporters were in a mad dash to acquire answers from Trump's administration. Although some others brushed it off as nonsense, others were nervous, as if they could detect something amiss. Members of Congress also offered their thoughts. The discussion included several prominent personalities. Some people praised Oprah for being courageous enough to speak out, while others sided with Trump and referred to the assault as a media attack. The situation soon turned violent on social media. Then an even more noteworthy event occurred. A response was received from Oprah's crew. Their brief but forceful statement built upon her earlier words. "Please don't say sorry. We're not going to take it back. Just strong." Everything exploded at that moment. Political analysts dissected Oprah's remarks to foretell Trump's next move, while news hosts appeared to be reading a hidden message. A state of disarray descended upon the White House. The way Trump reacted was really terrible. His increasingly irate tweets continued rolling in. A washed-up TV host, he called Oprah, accused her of lying, and said that civil disobedience was on the horizon. Oprah and Trump used to have a mutual respect, even though they weren't always on the same side. They would form a great team if Trump and her were to run for government together, he wrote to her in 2000. Oprah was even considered by him as a potential vice presidential candidate at one point. The bond has long since faded, and Oprah was rather critical of it. Reading Trump's final letter slowly and nearly smiling, she gave the audience permission to giggle at the idea of them cohabitating in the Oval Office. After that, she began an incredibly critical assessment of Trump's leadership and political career. Everything about him, his choices, his actions, and most importantly, his incessant craving for attention, was under her scrutiny. Every phrase landed like a punch, shocking the audience. Oprah hardly had to utter a word, though, and that was the true humor. She claims that Trump's deeds were self-explanatory. He would spend years critiquing other people, but he couldn't stand it when they made fun of him. She found amusement in his inconsolable reactions to criticism on Twitter. At that point, the applause from the audience began. When things didn't go his way, Trump would act like a tantrum-prone toddler, according to Oprah. It was unnecessary to identify him because the message was clear and well received. There was agreement, laughter, and applause from the crowd. Oprah, however, was only at the beginning. After that, she shamed Trump for constantly playing the victim and used her criticism of the media's unjust treatment of him to play the hypocrite card. Then she confirmed what everyone had suspected all along. Trump had a soft spot for the press. Despite his best efforts, the news just wouldn't stop arriving. She emphasized his troublemaking ways by listing all the instances he had lied, fought, and produced continual commotion in an effort to grab attention. The internet was enraged. Suddenly, memes appeared all over the place. Did you hear about Trump? He was probably ranting fiercely on his phone, but it appeared like his brain was freezing up. While much of Oprah's attention was on Trump, she did mention Melania Trump. She did not speak well of Melania in her remarks. The first thing that came up was Melania's famous Be Best campaign, which fights cyberbullying and promotes good online behavior among children. The First Lady intended for it to be a victory march, a means by which she could make her imprint. Still, Oprah posed a straightforward question. How can one instruct others to be kind when married to the most vicious cyberbully in history? Everyone started laughing. Because the irony was so obvious, nobody wanted to know the truth. Many people saw Trump's widely shared tweets in which he insulted others, made fun of their looks, and gave everyone who dared to oppose him a nasty moniker. He trailed behind everyone from politicians to journalists to famous people. Still, Melania seems to be more concerned with compassion than with all of this. Oprah then moved on to an even more shocking observation. Melania's quiet. Think about it. Whenever Trump was involved in a scandal, where was Melania? She never stood up for him when he was attacked by criticism. From hush money scandals to explosive Twitter tirades, stolen recordings, and frightening allegations from disgruntled employees, Oprah didn't hold back. She detailed every incident of Melania's silence. Absolutely nothing was ever said in public. She seemed disinterested in getting her hands dirty. Oprah then revealed Melania's history, which was a major surprise. Melania is originally from the tiny European nation of Slovenia and was not born in the USA. After being born in another country, she became a model, became a citizen of the United States, and ascended to the position of First Lady. A timeless story about the American dream. But then Oprah changed the storyline. She disclosed that Trump has, for a long time, demanded harsher immigration regulations, restrictions on travel, and more porous borders, laws that would have a negative impact on immigrants. Even though his own wife was an immigrant, he nevertheless blamed foreigners for America's ills and branded them as criminals. This news caused the crowd to gasp. Oprah then became quiet. Her remarks had a tangible weight. Melania would not be here today if Trump had his way with her many years ago. Was being First Lady a possibility for her? The weight of her suggestions was felt across the room. There was an immediate upsurge of conversation on social media following the publication of her remarks. Online memes quickly spread, drawing attention to the hypocrisy of a powerful Oprah openly criticizing Melania. Some postings used Trump's most angry tweets as a mockery of the Be Best campaign. Memes of Melania and Trump have gone viral with captions like, "Blink twice if you need help." Even late-night broadcasters have joined in, pointing out the hypocrisy and finding humor in the ridiculousness. Trump's reaction was impulsive and erratic. He personally attacked Oprah's credibility in his enraged tweets on Truth Social. He said she owed him her achievements and used terms like overrated, ungrateful, and washed up to describe her. Even more outrageously, he claimed she was being hypocritical by supporting him at one point but then betraying him for political benefit. His fans rooted for him while his detractors made fun of his breakdown. There were rumors that Trump became visibly agitated while at Mar-a-Lago, pacing the room, yelling at the TV, and even tossing items. He would not be placated, even as his aides rushed to contain the aftermath. The media's fixation on Oprah's every remark simply served to heighten his wrath. Trump insisted on airtime on favorable networks in an effort to reclaim control of the narrative. He went on a tirade over Oprah's supposed betrayal and made an appearance on television within hours. She was entangled in his conflict with Obama and the mainstream media when he accused her of being involved in a bigger plot to depose him. He pretended to be a victim and said the attacks were driven by politics. His remarks were disorganized, full of complaints, and obviously meant to energize his supporters. Melania stayed quiet as Trump screamed. She stayed out of the spotlight, didn't defend him, and said nothing publicly. What a stark difference. The question of whether her withdrawal was deliberate arose. Was her opinion in agreement with Oprah's? The controversy was intensified by her track record of avoiding direct engagement in Trump's scandals. Even more criticism was leveled at the Be Best campaign. Even though her husband was the main perpetrator of cyberbullying, critics pointed out that Melania had seldom taken a strong stance against the issue. Videos showing her slapping away Trump's hand at public occasions, her expressionless faces at crucial moments, and her unwillingness to embrace the conventional First Lady position were all examples of how the public perceived her as disengaged in the past. Experts argued on whether she was apathetic or merely accepting of his behavior. She clearly didn't want to justify Trump's actions, as she remained silent throughout. Responses were flooding social media. Screenshots of Trump's all-caps rants, in which he ridiculed his incapacity to handle criticism, were among the many memes that mocked his breakdown. By highlighting the hypocrisy of a former president starting an internet fight with a media legend, late-night hosts made light of the feud. According to political analysts, Trump's extreme reactions heightened Oprah's criticism, transforming a potentially brief incident into a dramatic show. A lot of people saw that he was more agitated with what Oprah said than about serious political concerns or policies. A number of famous people have spoken out, with some calling it the greatest television feud of the decade, and others making fun of Trump's ego. One of his tweets went viral, drawing parallels between his response and a celebrity controversy instead of a political matter, highlighting how he had his priorities all wrong. Trump persisted in continuing regardless of the negative response. Even after many supported Oprah, he kept posting, ranting, and attacking them. The narrative remained alive because he refused to go on. In proportion to his outbursts, Oprah's criticisms gained momentum. His associates battled behind the scenes to divert focus from the scandal. They made an effort to change the subject to Trump's legislative accomplishments, but he was too emotional to manage the debate. His political message was once again overwhelmed by his fixation with personal issues. At the same time, Oprah wasn't through yet. She was ready to criticize Trump's leadership record next, and the outcry would be even greater than when she criticized Melania. Still, Oprah hadn't finished. She had already dissected Trump's response and was now aiming for the broader view. She was exposing Trump's true leadership qualities by handling more than just one tantrum. She spared no words. She started with a basic principle: genuine leaders empower their followers, whereas imposter leaders undermine them. She felt that Trump has wasted years of his presidency divisive. Her main argument was that he incited wrath by using threats, insults, and falsehoods. People were driven away by him rather than brought together. He did the opposite of what was needed. He made people afraid. He didn't lead, he attacked. That, she argued, was the mark of a genuine leader, not one who was only acting the part. Furthermore, Oprah possessed receipts in addition to her comments. She brought up some of Trump's outrageous and at times absurd statements from during his presidency. For instance, he has previously asserted that wind turbines are carcinogenic. You read it correctly. He said that the very tools that encourage renewable energy were lethal. Although specialists scoffed, scientists found it amusing. Trump, however, made his statement as if it were factual. Next, there was that occasion when he denied the reality of climate change, and even went so far as to say that it was all an elaborate hoax orchestrated by China to undermine American power. "No," Oprah said, shaking her head. "These were not innocent blunders. They were designed to instill dread." She went on to say that Trump enjoyed manipulating people with threats of doom if he wasn't in power. By casting immigrants, journalists, and even his political opponents in a negative light, he contributed to the rise of a us versus them attitude. After then, Oprah went to a whole other level. "Trump behaved more like a tyrant than a president," she said while staring directly into the camera. Everyone in the crowd went quiet. Since the issue had escalated beyond inflammatory tweets and baseless accusations, it pertained to the very foundations of democracy. The fact that Trump had used the tyrannical term "the enemy of the people" to describe the media was brought to light by Oprah. When the justice system did not do as he wanted, he assaulted judges, FBI agents, and even members of his own Justice Department. He tried to cling to power after losing and spread misinformation about elections, much like the worst presidents in history. Trump made no secret of his affection for tyrants, and that is the most disturbing part. Fear was the tool of choice for him, and he publicly lauded tyrants like Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and others. He went so far as to quip that he wanted the United States would treat him the way North Korea treated Kim. That is, with the kind of enthusiastic support that is impossible to resist. Oprah let the remark to absorb. Politics wasn't the only issue here, power was as well. It followed a man's relentless pursuit of total control. She proceeded to drop one last surprise. Oprah let out a gasp-inducing statement right when the audience thought she was through. "He doesn't have to wear a crown to think he's a king." That was all it took for her to sum up Trump's mentality. She didn't even raise her voice. Her words dominated the news for days. She had moved on from talking about politics. She was painting a picture of an egotistical man who felt he was above the law, who should never be denied his way, who should never lose, and who thought he was immune to criticism. This was the bit that Trump would never get over, and everyone knew it in that moment. Much obliged for your time. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this one if you enjoyed them. To keep up to date, hit the bell symbol and then click on the next video that appears. Coming back to you soon.